Hello and welcome to the third session of our Job Academy 6. It's building pipelines that we've been working on. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym, and today I'm joined again by the lovely Idris Kamara. Hello Idris, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you, Angela. I'm really looking forward to today's session. It's been great over the last couple of weeks to be able to help so many people with their recruitment needs. So yeah, thank you for having me.
No, our pleasure. JobAdder are one of our sponsors. You sponsor our Ask the Coach, which we've got tomorrow at lunchtime, and I'll Meet the Expert. We do once a month as well. So this is all part of that sponsorship. But I must admit, I'm a bit sad this one's coming to an end because building pipelines is such a passion. And therefore, sharing some of the techniques and the ideas has been fantastic over these past few weeks. And last week was just an eye-opener. We had Chris South from Roy AI joining us, didn't we? And it's just what AI and automation can do nowadays for recruiters to help them. It's amazing. So if you haven't seen that, it's here on Crowdcast. You'll find it on LinkedIn for a couple of months probably, but we've also got the JobAdder Academy. So if you're here on Crowdcast, click the green button at the bottom. That will take you to all of the resources that JobAdder have, of which 6 of those have been academies here through the Recruiting Gym. Right, we've got half an hour. We better crack on, hadn't we, to hear from there. So let's bring the slides up and I hope that they work. This is our building pipelines, and certainly week 3, we're already nearly finished. Oh my goodness, can't believe we're there already. This is us. So hopefully you've seen this before, but lots of sales experience, lots of recruitment experience, and certainly developing people is what we're here for, and supporting and helping them in what they do. Our agenda today, we're going to do a quick recap on what we've covered. The activities review from session 1, I wanted to spend a bit more time on that because we referenced it in session 1, and I got quite a few people emailing me saying, oh, can I have that and details? And we'd already planned in to pick up on it. So I think that's a great way to start. But of course, all of this stuff that you're doing to build pipelines needs organization, needs prioritization, needs activities, needs focus. So we're going to be handy hints, tips and tricks today to help you to do that, and we'll finish off with one of the elements from JobAdder that helps you to do that as well, which is activity forms. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat, put them in the comments if you're on YouTube, Facebook or LinkedIn watching us, and we'll get to those as well. If we don't have time today, we'll make sure that we come back and answer those for you. So we started off right back at the beginning with what is a pipeline. So we wanted to make sure that we're referencing that again. And we're talking about sales here and building sales pipelines. So it's a visual representation of the sales process, lead generation to closing the deal, tool that helps companies track customers' progress, predict revenue, drive sales, all that forecasting and everything goes in with it as well. Typically includes stages such as lead generation, qualification, nurturing and deal closing. So we put that in a visual representation for you. This is the quick recap if you're thinking I'm whizzing through this, because this was on session 1. And we did share that example of, yes, you can do it by spreadsheet. And this was the one that a lot of people reached out to me, and we've got all the activities at the bottom there. But of course, you would hope if you've got a CRM that it's doing all of that for you. And Idris showed us how it's done in JobAdder, and yeah, a lot slicker, a lot more impressive and a lot less effort. So we do these sessions whether you have JobAdder or you don't. And if you've got a different CRM, then you can be looking at, okay, does mine do this? And sometimes you'll go and look at it, goes, oh my God, it does, because you didn't know what you didn't know. And other times you go, no, it doesn't. Right, okay, I'm either going to have to do this manually, or maybe it's something that I want to look at. And of course, we'd love you to go and have a look at JobAdder. So let's just dive into these activities. These are the ones that are at the bottom of that spreadsheet for a key to use. And go back to session 1 if you want to know how to use that and how to go through all that information. But what I wanted to spend a bit of time on today was looking at those key ones in red here, because we haven't got time to go through all of them. We only had a half hour. But the ones in red, the ones that are actually having a real impact at the moment, and we're seeing people Oh, I'm sorry. I've just come back to the screen and realised that we haven't got this on focus. Apologies, because you're looking at that and going, that's quite small. There we go. So this is to make sure that, you're doing different activities. You don't want to be doing the same thing every week. And I mentioned when I started, we had the 10-week ring round, which was that BD call, that one at the beginning there, where we had to call the same client every week for 10 weeks, see if we could get anywhere. And we just pissed them off, to be honest. So here we've got a situation where what we got 5, 10, at least 30 different things that you could be doing to generate pipeline. So it's not about the here and now, it's about the future, it's about building long-term relationships, and it's knowing that it's not going to come off straight away. So you've got to crack on, you've got to get on with it, and you've got to have a plan. So identifying those potential clients, which we did in session 1, and then having a strategy. What am I going to do over the next 3 months? 13-week strategies work really well, that 90-day stretch. What can I do for the next 3 months to move this relationship on? And some it will work in that time. Others will take a lot longer. Longest one in our office was 7 years. So I'm not saying they're all going to take 7 years, but it was worth it. Biggest client for the next 4 years. Good old Kimberly Clark. So you've got to put the time and effort in. And it can get boring. We know that. So building pipelines is all about the variety. It's about identifying things that actually you really like doing that are going to make a difference. So on here, obviously BD calls, but I had to put highlight conference. We've got the Recruitment Agency Expo next week. You going to be there, Idris?
I will. I'll be there from Wednesday to Thursday. We'll be at stand B12. So we do have some goodies. So I hope to see you there and hopefully some of the people on this crowdcast.
Fantastic. I hadn't prepped him for that, but yeah, brilliant. And goodies, my pen just ran out and I just grabbed another one this morning and I've just noticed it is actually a JobAdder pen, and I thought, oh, this writes really nicely, and I've just realised it is a JobAdder. So grab a pen or a couple. What else have I got around here? I've got to have a workbook. There was a workbook here a second ago. There's a blue one. Is that one of yours?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
there's all these goodies. Definitely want to get those. So the Recruitment Agency Expo, let's just take a moment. If you are a rec to rec, then yes, you have to be there. It's all the recruiters. It's everyone in our industry. We get quite a few in-house, although it's Recruitment Agency Expo now, and there is an in-house Recruitment Expo. I've noticed there's more people that are large companies, recruiters from in-house that are going to those as well, because it's for anyone that's in recruitment, and you've got all of the tech and the information and all the service providers, usually a good 100 of those. So if you're thinking of changing anything, here's your chance to go and see it up close and personal, and to also identify and work with people that you like. And JobAdder you can never miss. Usually, first of all, it's the first stand. It usually smells of lovely things like churros or pancakes or something as well. There's always something going on there that draws people to it. But big team as well supporting that. So, yeah, you should be able to spot them pretty easily. And then you've got 34, no, I think it might even be 50 speakers this year over the 2 days. So there's training sessions, there's spotlight sessions, there's information from industry bodies. So if you are in recruitment, you should be booking that one for you. And then there's an opportunity. So if you're rec to rec, perfect, your clients are there as well. But if not, you're still gathering data, information about our industry to then share with your clients. So that conference should be part of it. You could be asking, if you're working with in-house recruiters, whether they're going, sharing that information with them as well. But of course, you should be looking, whatever sector you supply, you should definitely be going to at least one, if not two, of those conferences a year. Sometimes they cost. The Recruitment Agency Expo doesn't. So it's free to attend, but that's where your customers are going to be. So make sure you're there and you're getting information. And if you need help as well with sort of up-to-date information, our new Hiring Happenings has just come out. Hiring Happenings with a pestle twist. That's just come out. That's a monthly deep dive into one of those topics, political, economical. We did sociological, so everything about people this month globally, and really interesting. Technological, legislative, environmental. So these are things you can be doing that are activities that are going to help you with your sales, with your marketing, developing relationships, having interesting conversations so that you're not saying the same thing every time you're speaking to them. And over those 13 weeks, these elements, we'd be looking at 6 contacts in some way, shape or form. So it could be bumping into them, at a conference. It could be a networking event. So yeah, we've got N for networking event in there. I should highlight that in green as well. It could be the business development call. It could be a marketing, a placeable candidate, an MPC call, a spec call, a lob out, whatever you call it. These are opportunities to actually have contact with them. And you ideally want 6 of those. So fingers crossed, a meeting or presentation could be in that. And talking to them. So you don't have to be there. The phone call, obviously, it could be on the phone. It could be FaceTime. It could be Zoom. We've got so many different ways. And again, ask them what's their favorite way to communicate and go with that. You're much more likely to get more out of them if you're going with what they appreciate rather than what you appreciate. And then I've got things like down the bottom left, LinkedIn comments, questions, asking or replying to those. We do find a lot of people struggle to pick up the phone. It might be that you're happier hiding with your keyboard and doing it that way. And again, there's so many different ways to communicate with companies, with your actual customers, with the hiring managers, with the actual key account management team, all the other elements in them. Because of social media, you can get access to all of these people. So make sure you do it in a positive and professional way. So always think about what you're writing on social media. My set is, okay, if my grandmother, if she was still alive, saw that, would she be happy or not? Do you have a standard, Idris, for your social media?
Yeah, I do. It's would Matt call me into his office if I post this?
Well, there you go. And I saw one yesterday, and within 24 hours. So this was a football guy. He was in his 50s. He was a project manager for a good company. Wrote something really stupid about Hillsborough.
Yeah, I saw that.
He'd lost his job within 24 hours. He'd lost his job. He'd been banned from all football matches. So that's his passion out the window. I think there was something about his wife considering.
Yeah, I think his golf club said you're not allowed to come there anymore.
It's just nuts, isn't it, that can happen? It's like, yeah, just think about what you're saying. So comments, sharing information, even if it might be that you notice that let's say they're looking at parental leave at the moment. Something's come up, you're talking to HR, parental leave. We've got new legislation coming out from January the 1st. We got into it in Hiring Happenings this week because I didn't realise parental leave around the world, we are so way behind. And we get 2 weeks here at statutory pay, which is 185 quid a week. So like half of what minimum wage is, something along those lines. The Nordics are like Finland, Norway, Sweden. One of them, 480 days they get. Wow. So like a year and a quarter, something like that. And they can split it between the mother and the father. And 90 days has to go to the father. That's the minimum. So you've got 3 months parental and 80% of pay for all of that time. Hello. So like the furlough, this is nuts. And if they have 2 children, so if they've got twins or triplets, I think it was another 100 days for every child.
Wow.
I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if we could do that as a society here? I can't see us doing that. We've got too big a black hole at the moment with regards to money. But it just shows you, doesn't it, that and so if you're talking to a HR manager, things like that you could say, I know we mentioned about the new law coming in last time we spoke. Here's a podcast that goes into a lot more detail and information. All the links are in there as well to do more research. What a great way of just sending a LinkedIn message saying, saw this, thought of you, and therefore you're building that relationship and moving it on. Doesn't matter whether they're using you at that period of time. Great way to get lapsed clients back as well, because it's not ringing and saying, oh, do you need any work, or if you've got any business. It's, oh, this made me think of you, how lovely, and here's some information that will help you. So it's those type of things that make a difference. And certainly with your existing clients, to try and make sure that you're getting next year's business and the year after, those service level agreements in there about how you're going to work with them, and then booking in the service reviews on an ongoing basis, or sharing with potential clients. Here's an example of an SLA that we use with our existing clients. This is how we work together. This is how we support each other. This is how we become a partnership. It's all about the long-term relationship. I'd love that. If I was a hiring manager and someone came to me and said, here we go, here's a way that we can work together, and you get to determine the levels, and here's all the service elements that we offer. Brilliant. So take a moment, think about it. What are you doing? Are you mixing it up? There might be something on this list. And obviously it's just a starting point. This is just what came out of my head while I was thinking about it. There'll be loads of things that you do in your business that you can then just add on to it as a key. And the reason why you've got a key is everything goes in the CRM. So you don't write all the details onto your strategy. That's just the codes. All the detail goes into your CRM to make sure that's all up to date and that you're utilizing that properly. Okay, I could talk about this for a long time, but I need to move on. And therefore, that's a good time to think about time management. An organization, because we know this job is like 15 jobs in one. I used to always say 10. I did a poll this year and said, what am I missing? We added another 5 jobs onto it. So 15 jobs. Yes, you've got to be organized. Yes, if you're trying to think about the future and building pipelines, really hard when you're busy day to day, head down, just getting on with stuff, because it's always busy, isn't it? So time management, then we're going to come on to prioritizing and a strategy for that a lot of people use. But I just wanted to ask you about your techniques then, and I'll share one of mine as well. So Idris, time management, what would you say is your top tip piece of advice for people?
Yes. So my top tip would be what's called a Pomodoro timer. I have shared a link in the chat. Essentially, you can break down the tasks that you have throughout the day. So it might be business development, it might be client relationships, check-ins, your tasks, admin. And I would just say for a period of time, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes or an hour, I'm just going to focus on that. Doesn't matter whatever else comes up, I'm just going to do that. There are apps that you can download on the App Store. You could also use your mobile phone, just your alarm clock, but it just means that you're just focused on that. You can get so much more done. I use it in my job here. Obviously, I'm not on the tools doing recruitment, but I do need to do BD. So I will have an hour at specific points throughout the week where I'm just focused on business development, finding new opportunities, new customers, prospects, and that's it. No one can reach me unless it's really, really urgent. And it just means that I do deliver on what I need to deliver. For us, it is our number, similar to recruiters. So it just means that I'm going to get things done and I can just tick that off. So I'd recommend Pomodoro timer.
Yeah, I heard about this a few years ago and I started using it and then I've forgotten about it. So you bringing it up today, I was like, oh my God, yes. And that's the thing. Sometimes these sessions, it's like, yeah, I know this. And then you go, yeah, but are you doing it? And you're like, no, I forgot. So that's what we're here for as well. Just to prompt you and remind you. So that's a great way of getting focused. We've got, I think, a third of our team is ADHD diagnosed. So great for people that are neurodiverse, maybe ADHD or ADD, that it's just like, oh, shiny thing all the time to get focus on that. One thing that really helped me as a recruiter, having my week scheduled out, I always felt really guilty if I didn't have the whole week filled out. So if I could see there were gaps, I felt like, oh, I'm not working. I've got nothing to do there. Yeah, didn't take me too long to realise that's not recruitment. So all the stuff that you put in your diary is your proactive work. So you're being proactive, you planned it in, you know you're going to do that. Now, how reactive is recruitment?
Very.
It's probably one of the most reactive jobs that I know. Actually, no, I take that back. My daughter's a paramedic. Probably very,
Okay, right.
very reactive, 100% reactive. But certainly administrative wise, very reactive. So one thing that helped, and whether you're able to do this or not, you don't have to do it to the extent we did. For 2 weeks, we did a time and motion study where every 15 minutes a buzzer went and we had to write down what we've been doing for that time. So over that couple of weeks, we then built up an idea of what our weeks look like, how long tasks took, and how much time we should allocate to things. And things always take longer than you think. So we had a real good schedule and plan for each desk as well. So different sectors, different timings. And what we could establish from that was each day, and you can do this roughly as guesswork to start with, how reactive and how proactive were we? So looking at it, when we looked at Wednesday, we didn't have to add many things in. The stuff that was in our diary was pretty much what we ended up doing that day. Totally the opposite for Fridays. Fridays, we ran 1,500 temps out. So really reactive, lots of stuff going on, all the rebooks, people moaning, pay issues, all of that stuff. So it was important for us not to book stuff in on the Friday. We worked, it was 80-20, good old 80-20 kicked in, but Wednesday was 80% proactive, Friday was only 20% proactive. So by adjusting that and planning our time, knowing that things would get filled in, and of course, if nothing happens, you can go off and do more sales. So you can be building your pipeline. There is always stuff to do. It's not like you are going to be sitting there not doing anything. But to start with, I was doing 14-hour days in recruitment because I was planning in the whole day proactive, and then all the other stuff to deal with as well. So those to-do lists, looking at it and realizing, yeah, okay, let me get smarter here. Because what we ended up doing was where we had maybe 20% on a Wednesday, I'd block it out in red, my red time. And therefore, that was where I could move things to. If something became more important, I could move stuff around, and that could go there, and I could get on with the priority that had come in. So having that red time in my diary, one, I thought initially it's like, oh, look at all that space. So it's probably 40% over the week. So 60% planned on average, 40% not. It got filled up, don't worry. It always got filled up. But it did mean I wasn't stressing during the day. I knew I had space if something happened. I've picked up a job from a call. Great, I've got time to work on it now. I can move what I was going to do next into that red time. So for me, that was one of my top tips that I learned. Having red time, that space, whatever you want to call it. Plan that in. Plan to be busy. Plan for the reactive stuff. We don't know what it's going to be, but you know it's going to happen as a recruiter.
Always.
Yeah. So that links to the Eisenhower matrix. You must have seen this before.
I have,
around things that are urgent and important. So it's identifying and looking at, okay, if it's urgent and important, top left, do it, got to do it immediately. Yeah. So you've got to make sure that that's happening. So a job comes in, okay, yeah, let's get on it. Now, it might be important, but not urgent. In other words, a job comes in, it's for recruiting in December, and they are going to have the meeting, but they're just giving you the heads up now. They're going to have a meeting in 3 weeks' time to then go through the job description and update and everything. They're just giving you the heads up. That's not an immediate. It's important to the business, but it's not urgent. So you can schedule that. You've then got, okay, it's urgent. It's got to be done, but it's not important to me. Maybe it might be important to others within the business, might not. So these are tasks you ideally want to delegate. Who else could do that? Because it's not important for what I'm trying to achieve. And therefore, I could then pass that on. And then finally, it's not important. It's not urgent. You've really got a question whether you do it in the first place or not. So web surfing, it's got in there as well, because we do a lot of that. And yes, there's work stuff. So if you're doing it for the activities that are in our activities list, go for it. But if you're not, and if it's not research, it's not one of the other activities, then yeah, that's got to go. And sometimes we can be very busy fools. So working on a client that's never going to pay you, and there's no candidates out there. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you're on a hiding to nothing on that one, aren't you? It's not important because the client's not going to pay you. Yeah, it's a job, but if you're not getting paid for it, then that's an issue. And if you know there's no candidates, then okay, the urgency's gone, or maybe 6 agencies have already worked on it and ruined the market for it. So you have to question whether you do that or not. There's some of the things that you might eliminate out of there. Okay, so that's our dive into what we could do. We want to look at the activity forms. So I'm going to pass over to you for the last 5 minutes. If you've got any questions, then please do put them in the chat and we'll get to those. And remember, we have 8 pro bono courses in the recruiting gym, so you can always pause on this on the replay and access that. So let's go over to Idris. I think I might have to stop sharing before you can. So if you want to get ready to do that, and I will stop mine. There we go. Fabulous. Right, let's have a look at those activity forms and what they mean, because all of this needs to be organised, as we say. So how can JobAdder help us to do that? Yeah, we're there.
Perfect. So just to give you a bit of background to the activity forms are customizable questionnaires, effectively, a way of you standardizing what good looks like to ensure that new consultants, experienced consultants, admin, operations, business leaders, that everyone knows what we need to gather and when to ensure that we do a good job every single time. A really great example of where I've seen this, or wish I had this, is when I first started in recruitment. Great, very eager, needed guidance. When asking questions, there are certain things that you need to qualify, salary, location, do you drive, what are you looking for? One of the questions that I would often miss was, do you have any holidays coming up? Which was fine when I worked in perm, but then I moved into the interim market, and lo and behold, I placed someone and they had a week-long holiday right in the middle of this 3-month assignment. We want to ensure that we're not falling into that trap and ensuring that when we place someone, everything is just going to go smoothly. So what we can do within JobAdder is, if I just click the 3 dots here, we can build different types of activity forms. Here's a screening one, a referencing one, a compliance one, and then I've got an example of some of the other questions that you can ask a candidate and the responses that you can obtain. So I'm just going to dive into the screening form here. So I've got a phone screening activity, which is why you're interested in this role, what best describes your eligibility to work, with a drop-down option in here. When can you start? Are you willing to relocate? And what are your salary expectations? These responses are then put onto that candidate's profile, so that if in the future, perhaps this candidate wasn't suitable for this role, but we want to speak to them in the future about another role, I have that complete interaction saved. So I'm not then duplicating my efforts, which is then going to make me more efficient, which then means I can spend more time doing something else, which ultimately boils down to speaking to more candidates or making more revenue. Another example of one of the activity forms that I've seen really well is referencing. Normally when you're referencing, you might have to go and have a Google documentation, or you've got something that you're going to write into, save it onto the system, which is going to make us more efficient. I have the candidate's details, the name of the referee, their relationship, and then we've got a rating scale here, and we can have as many questions as we need. And the absolute must question here is, would you rehire them? Yes or no? I download that, I send that.
So that's adaptable then? People can put their own questions in there. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely adaptable. So I'm just going to give you an example. Here are all the questions that we might be able to ask of someone. In here, I think I clicked on the wrong one.
One above it.
We've got as many examples as we might need, drop down options, scale ratings. We've got multi-select options, and we can also say, for example, do you drive? Yes. Do you have your own car? Is the next question. Answer no. So this is really configurable. A lot of CRMs will have something similar. If they don't, maybe suggest it to them. I know that from JobAdder's perspective, if our customers recommend something, we will invariably look to build that in if enough people also think that's a really good idea, because we're not at the coalface. We want to ensure that we are providing a system that helps to reduce inefficiencies rather than create inefficiencies for you. But just to give you an example of what this would look like once someone has actually completed an activity form, I have this here, which has all of the activities that have been completed, and I can just see what has happened here. So when I was speaking to Sam, I know you spoke to my colleague a couple of weeks ago. You said that your notice period is 3 weeks. You're looking for this salary, and you're currently on this salary, looking for this. You drive, and here's some of the things that you said. I've got a different role for you. So we're not only making ourselves more efficient, but we're giving that candidate a really good experience, because they're not having to duplicate what they told your colleague previously, which is hopefully going to lead to them coming back to you again and again and again. And that's what we want.
Yeah, must admit, keeping up to date with the CRM, it's always rubbish in, rubbish out, isn't it? So if you can configure it to what you need, you're much more likely to use it as well, because it's what you need, which is great. But then if it's doubling up, so you're not doubling up, and it's creating that work, that's fantastic as well. Thank you for showing that, because again, with activities, it's consistency that makes the difference. So if you are actually doing it and regularly doing it, and like having those 13-week plans and focusing on what's next, what do I need to do to move this forwards, rather than getting lost in the ether somewhere, it makes a huge difference to your pipelines, because now you're looking ahead 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It's not all about this week, and that's what makes the difference. And we can see it being a much better year next year. So let's start now. Move it forwards. We've noticed a difference since July, actually. Since July, it's really picked up. So let's keep that going, and anything we can do to help, feel free to reach out. It's been lovely doing this with you, Idris. I will see you next week, next Wednesday. Do you know whether you're having the pancakes or the...
We won't be having pancakes this year, but we do have something that is, I really like them. So when you do come to the stand, I hope you'll take a picture to share with all your followers. But yeah, hopefully it'll make up for the crepes and churros.
What a tease. There we go. Got to go to the stand and find out what they've got. Love it. All right. Well, hopefully I'll like them as well. As long as it hasn't got carrots in it, I'll be all right. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you at the expo. I'm on at 11:30 on the stage with a group of 4 amazing people with like 20 years in the industry plus. So running a panel there. Do come and see us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.